So I will admit I was a bit confused, and I'm still am confused because we got a Michael and we got a Mike.
Yeah, total coincidence there. That was kind of the name that he was given, and they started calling him that, and three months in, so he responds to pretty well. So
okay,
we figure, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So
sure, yeah. And he's 3 months now, or 2.5?
3.
Yeah.
Okay. I think born date was 2/1. So
he's looking pretty tall here. Hey, buddy, are you gonna become an evil demon at some point?
we'll find out.
How's his mouthiness?
Oh man.
He definitely, if you're on his level, he likes to go for the nose, gentle little nips.
Nose, chin, ears.
Yeah.
My hair sometimes. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. If
Which
you're
is
laying.
typical puppy behavior.
Sure.
But males are like very
Michael.
they'll have intensity.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would be gauging if I was you guys, because we don't know his background, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then for the puppy board and train, because this is really just formal, you don't have to do this. And then we did credit you the 235.
I saw that. Yeah. Thank
Maria
you.
just forgot, so then we
it's all good.
last night. Is because I believe you trained with Enrique before.
We did.
Yeah. So this was so I can meet you guys, get to meet me, and the expectations for puppy stuff. Well, puppy BNTs, it's always the basics, the foundations, and really trying to prevent things from happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Separation anxiety, reactivity, just standard behaviors that become a problem in the future. This is what, from 2 months to 6 months, is really what we were concerned about. Basic obedience using food. We do clicker training. If you guys okayed it, which we talked about it, we can already incorporate prong collar to start introducing Michael to pressure.
Yeah.
So puppies, you can train as young as 2 months with pressure. It's just most of the general audience in terms of dog owners are not comfortable with it.
Sure.
Usually 2 to 4 months is giving clients all these options to address their puppy's behavior. None of it works.
Yeah.
And then finally they get fed up and they go, okay, I need something that works. And by 6 months, usually they're ready and we're like, okay, now prong collar or remote collar comes into play.
Sure.
But technically we can incorporate prong collar immediately because the prong collar is meant to mimic a dog bite. If you didn't know.
Got it.
That's why it looks the way it looks.
Okay.
Yeah. People look at it and they think it's like a medieval torture device.
Sure.
And I go, no, it's meant to mimic a dog bite. So if Michael was with his mother and got out of line, she would nip him to say, don't do that. And if you go on YouTube, you will find videos of this.
Yep.
So I think it's very interesting that, people see this with dogs and they go, oh, like that's just the mother correcting the puppy. But the moment a human does it, all of a sudden you're abusive. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to introduce the pressure correctly. We'll pair it with food. Did you guys do in person with Darla or BNT? Trying to remember.
We did a board and train.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a 2-week with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys got like a training video and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
then you follow up.
All the
So
above,
it's the same
totally.
thing for puppies. We record the first session of everything. I would say expect the first few introductions with the prong collar to look terrible.
Sure.
Okay. Puppies panic. Puppies even panic with flat collars.
Yeah.
And a lot of clients will, they'll put the flat collar on the puppy. They'll try to walk when the puppy starts alligator rolling. They're shrieking, and sometimes they shit themselves. It looks very terrible.
Yeah.
And then clients typically would give in, and they put a harness on the puppy, or whatever. And then later on, I still have to work on the issue because the puppy was never worked with.
Right.
Except now the dog is bigger.
Got
right. So when you see the video, if you see Michael spazzing out, it's normal. Okay.
Sure.
He might pee, he might poop, he'll alligator roll, all that stuff. If you watch me, obviously, my demeanor is to be very calm, and everything I do is very subtle. Okay.
Enough.
And the moment he gives in, yay! And then we praise, give food if he'll take it, and then we repeat the process. Eventually, the dog learns everything is fine. And then that also helps us in the future with the dog handling stress, because the prong collar is a stressor.
Yeah.
Okay. So when they freak out, if we don't work them through it, then they don't learn how to handle stress. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
So when we work them through it, as bad as it may look, if it looks bad, once the puppy moves through everything, they go, oh, all of that was in my head. Everything's actually fine.
For sure.
So in the future, it teaches them how to handle stressors better. It's like leash reactivity is technically a stress response, right? The dog sees let's say another dog, they find that dog to be a threat. They go under stress, they become defensive to try to push that dog away.
Okay.
Right, like try to bluff and scare them away or whatever. So usually what we do is when we're working with those dogs, we put them under stress using our training tools, work them through the stress, and the dog goes, oh, I can actually handle this. So then once they learn how to handle this, then when they see another dog, that's less stressful.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then typically we don't see a lot of those issues, and if we do, we can correct them regardless. But with puppies, especially puppies as young as Michael here, it's much more common because they've not been on this earth long enough
Totally.
to have experienced pressure. So like if he was with his litter mates, they tend to bully each other, bite each other, roughhouse, and they're biting on their jowls and they're pulling on each other and all that stuff. One might get out of line and another one will come at them. That's toughening each other up.
Sure.
For sure.
So when we get them that young out of the litter at 2 months, and then you try to introduce them to pressure, since they've not really had any exposure.
Very
it tends
sensitive.
to- Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Question so far.
No, makes
That
sense.
all makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions on your own, just like other stuff?
No, I think the big thing we're dealing with now, and we don't know if he had it in the past with, like the foster family he was with, separation anxiety is pretty gnarly for him.
When you brought him home, what did you do?
So we kept Darla here for an extra day.
Okay.
We brought him back Monday morning.
Okay.
We brought her home Wednesday morning. From the get, it was like a long walk outside, kind of introduce him to our
Neighborhood.
little neighborhood.
Yeah.
Walk him down like through the stairwell into the building. Then when we got inside, it was just him on a leash for the next 48 hours.
Okay.
Kind of just setting boundaries and telling him no a lot, more or less.
Showing him like his place, like the
Oh, yeah.
little cot
His
thing, and like
Okay.
because he has like his crate in like the back, and we have like the little place mats or like place, and he's starting to get it, things like that. But nighttime we put him in the crate, because we want him crate trained, obviously. And it was like the second like the door shut, just screaming, like he could not handle it. Like even like maybe if he just sees us, we try to like face the crate towards us. And he kind of like would whimper, but then he would go back to like screaming, like, get me out of here. Like, I want to be next to you guys. I want to be free, So that, but.
But immediately with the crate, it was like big reward shit getting thrown in there. And like, put him in there 10 seconds, close it, open it up, puppy voice yes, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, frozen bone with some peanut butter and some treats on it, and trying to give him like that high intensity value stuff off the get to
Make him like the
have
crate.
him like the house and do
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But, I understand it's only been 5 days, but, he's definitely not.
Does he sleep in there overnight?
Yes.
Okay. How does he do overnight?
Compared to Monday, relatively well. Monday was like pure terror.
Yeah. Like we had to like sleep on the ground so he could see us.
Yeah.
Like it was bad. He would not stop. It was incessant.
But then like Thursday, Friday night happened. We put Darla's house next to his, and she's kind of been doing that motherly thing with him and maybe showing him some of the ropes, or maybe just a little bit of experience, and he's kind of quieted down a bit. He can do, I'd say 3 to 4 hours pretty well.
Yeah.
Maybe a little whine here and there, but that's it.
Okay. What happens if you go beyond?
I think he reaches his threshold of needing to potty, and then he whines super hard, turns into a big yelp. At this point, I think we've been able to discover a different pitch in his tone and go, okay, that's a potty whine versus him just,
Being a
needing
baby,
attention
yeah.
or,
Sure.
trying to trick you and get out type of thing.
And you guys are no longer sleeping like next to the crate or whatever?
If the whining's really bad,
Yeah.
we'll jump down there for about an hour and he'll calm down, sleep, and then we'll
Once
remove
he-
ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a human child.
I'm sorry?
Like a human child.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think, we waited those 48 hours. When Darla came back, we took your suggestion, of course, gave him a long walk. Let them kind of romp around the house on leash, dollar on her e-collar.
And her muzzle.
Yeah. And everything went pretty well.
Seemingly well, yeah. They let them sniff each other. No direct face-to-face longer than 3 seconds. We'll do a correction. And then like Darla started to like kind of tower over him, like, you know, dominate it. And, you know, he would just immediately like back down or like, you know, give her his belly, you know. So they're learning their roles, you know, like he knows like she's the alpha, you know, she kind of established that. She's also a mammoth, you know, standing next to him. So I'm sure like that size difference, you know, put some pressure on him. But yeah, they're getting along. And I think like once he knows more commands and he doesn't like, you know, because she knows all her commands, you know, she's good at them. So once like he knows like his like sit, stay, place, house, you know, things like that, and he can walk on leash better, I think like they'll get along better.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been just on leash, very structured and monitored interactions. And, you know, the first real introduction was Thursday. Went super well.
Yeah.
I think they played in the front room for probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Super nicely. He does, like you're saying, like a bit of the mouthy stuff, and you know, she doesn't not tolerate it, but she certainly doesn't tolerate it.
Okay.
And you know, because she's got the muzzle on, there's really no
like correction like on her
Correction
part, because
that
she
way.
can't because the muzzle's on.
yeah.
Has she attempted?
Not that I've seen.
Not really, no.
Maybe like a little, like a, not a growl, but like kind of like a deep voice.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like
I
her,
think
and like she like
understands.
you know like smacked her head, I kind of on him, you know. I don't know what that was about, but like a hammerhead shark. I was like, okay, so I think that was her way of like correcting him without like, because she couldn't use her mouth.
Yeah. So that sounds what we call it. It's called a muzzle punch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
If a dog in my opinion, dogs are aware that they don't have the ability to bite.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, this is why we tell clients to muzzle condition.
Okay.
Because the muzzle conditioning helps take off the muzzle as a stressor. Because the dog has it on, and they realize my primary form of self-defense is removed.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You do that. So dogs go under more stress. So if we have a dog that's aggressive and we need to socialize them, I'll always tell the owner, you need a muzzle condition now, because we're going to have the e-collar, maybe a prong collar, the stressor of the human or the dog, whatever the trigger is, plus the muzzle, right? So that's a lot.
Yeah.
So what happens is either dog will shut down, the dog will even act out worse, right? So I always tell people about muzzle condition so we can at least remove that stressor. And we prime the dog with conditioning first, so by the time we get to socialization, ideally the e-collar or the prong collar aren't as much of a stressor either. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if all these things are being forced at one time, it's a shit show.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I mean, I've done it before. I can do it. The problem is the human.
Right.
Right.
The human goes, this is really bad. I go, right, because you weren't ready.
Sure.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Right. So, but dogs are aware, and then what ends up happening, like I got muzzle punched one. It was actually by a Malinois.
Good boy.
Who was trained to be a protection dog. And I had the guy screwed up the dog, so I had to go fix with the protection trainer or whatever.
Yeah.
And the dog no longer knew how to tolerate pressure. So like, for example, if you have a complete stranger come up to you like this, how would you feel?
A little threatened, yeah.
You'd feel threatened.
Yeah.
That's pressure.
Sure.
As we call that confrontational pressure. So what happened is the trainer screwed up the dog where the dog no longer could tolerate pressure and think logically of, is this a threat or not? And the dog was just jumping up and biting everybody.
Oh, no, yeah.
So then one day I was trying to put on something or get something, and then the dog had a metal muzzle on and just jumped up and
Oh, no.
boom, punched me in the gut and the rib, had a huge bruise, and then knocked the wind out of me.
I bet.
It's like the one of like 3 times in my life that I've ever had the wind knocked out of me.
I was like, a dog.
Yeah. And then the dog didn't even open up its mouth. It just literally boom.
Yeah.
With the fucking muzzle.
Wild.
So yeah, so it's a
Jesus.
thing. So everything so far sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Expect that with Darla and Michael, at some point there's going to be tension. It's I would say inevitable. It's like if you guys have siblings.
I'm one of 7 children.
One of 7.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Yep.
You know, we don't always get along.
Right.
We get spats, but we're family, so almost always we do get over it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with dogs. Okay. The main thing I always look for is if the dog, let's say Darla corrected Michael, and she just like chomped him, and like he had all these punctures and stuff.
Sure.
Obviously, that's an overcorrection.
Sure.
That's a problem. But if she nips or shows her teeth or whatever, even grazes a little bit of skin, like that's just what dogs do.
Yeah.
But typically humans tend to freak out because it's a puppy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So dogs don't view their puppies like we view our infants. A puppy at 2 weeks is already, not 2 weeks, 8 weeks is already like romping around, peeing on things,
Yeah.
chewing on things, right? They're a handful. Whereas humans, like, you got 6 months till you're crawling, and then a few months later you're trying to learn how to walk, and then you're walking, and then not until you're 18 years old are you like considered an adult.
Adult, right.
Right? We mature very slowly. Dogs mature very quickly. So typically dogs will treat their puppies as adult dogs at around 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Okay, which is why we also, at around 6 months, start e-collar training. Because I go, if dogs treat their puppies as adults at around 6 months, then I can most definitely train them as adults at 6 months. And they learn a little slower, but they can be trained to an adult level.
Sure.
Okay. So everything that I do here is just stuff that dogs do with each other. So whenever people like give me shit for it, I'm like, I just do what dogs do.
Yeah.
This is why I run a quiet kennel. Like I just do what dogs do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, totally. I think that's one of the things that we read and we understood and like drew us to
Michael.
come to. Oh, what's he doing? Drew us to come here with Darla in the first place, and then keep coming back. So
Yeah. So we appreciate it.
yeah.
So, it
Michael.
looks like the here. May I take your leash?
Yeah.
It looks like everything's going well. Right now, in terms of his puppy behavior, he seems pretty standard. Okay, he's not over the top. He's curious. He doesn't seem to be under stress with the environment. With you keeping him on a leash by you, he's not getting frustrated, which is a common puppy thing. Where they just get bored. Like he's getting bored.
Sure.
You can see it. Like he's chewing on the things or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But a puppy typically would already like be barking,
Whining, yeah.
whining, right? Like they're just like, you
I'm
need
over
to
it.
do something. Where he's a bit more passive. Now, with the separation anxiety stuff, pretty standard when you get a puppy.
Yeah.
Because especially if he was with his litter mates, you want to think there was action 24/7, right? He's always with someone or something.
Yeah.
Then he's removed from that. And he goes home. And then you're like, all right, buddy, good night. And he goes in his kennel. He's like, wait a minute.
Like, oh, hell no.
Right? So you get that kind of anxiety separation barking. You stayed with him to soothe him, no problem. I don't recommend it, but no problem.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to set a standard. Because for some puppies, if you do that immediately, they learn. If I bark and whine, you'll come lay next to the kennel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely a fear of ours.
Sure,
So
yeah.
it doesn't look like that's happened yet because you wouldn't already be having like the 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
So like everything you were telling me, I'm like, all right, there was a little bit of it, which is normal, it's expected, but he's learning to chill. Like he's learned to chill for at least 3 to 4 hours. So cool, because we always want to see progress. In the beginning, it's like this, and then over time, it just comes down to this.
Sure.
Yep.
When it stays static or it goes more,
a problem.
then I tell people you have a problem.
Got
okay?
it.
And it's pretty evident. Okay, like you'd already be like, hey, like he's barking nonstop.
Like I'm going crazy.
Yes. Yeah. You would already see that stuff. Okay. So that looks to be going fine. In terms of potty training, have you guys ever potty trained a dog before, a puppy before?
Yeah, Darla, but she was kind of easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess she came from the shelter and maybe
Learned it from them, but
inherited
yeah.
it somewhere.
Yeah, she came in and she had some accidents in the house when we first got her, and I guess taking her out, and every time she would pee or poo in the grass, I'd praise her and give her treats and make a big deal about it, and to a point where now we can literally go potty and she'll go on command, we got it down. But yeah, it was the reward for something I wanted her to do. So that's as far as my potty training, but it didn't take that very long.
Was she a puppy or was she already an adult?
She was 6 months, 7 months. Yeah, between there, yeah.
So with guys as young as Michael here, the general thumb is an hour per month is what they can hold it for.
Yeah.
He's at about approximately 3 hours.
Got it.
Okay, which makes sense with the kennel, right? Because
Sure.
about 3 to 4 hours is where he starts to get his limitation.
Right.
Right. So one thing I would recommend, and we'll establish when he's here, a potty schedule, is you carry on with that potty schedule, and then you don't let him out when he starts barking or anything like that. Okay? Because he may start to learn to play. When I bark, you let me out.
Yep.
And The dogs don't necessarily learn barking means I get to go potty. They learn barking lets me out of the kennel.
For sure.
You know, and I've had clients who are like, oh, my puppy like fake pees. Like they'll squat or they'll go to lift and nothing comes out. You know, and then they just start playing.
Yeah.
Because it's just habit.
Got him.
So,
yeah, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 3 hours is correct. Then once he's 4 months, technically 4 hours, so on and so forth. The
Okay.
exceptions are always overnight. Even at 2 months, I tell clients your puppy is able to sleep 8 hours through. It's just whether or not you can ignore or correct the midnight barking that may happen. Because I'm not saying that they won't have to,
Right.
but they will learn quickly if we ignore it or correct it that they have to sleep through the night because they're not going to be let out.
Right.
Yeah.
So then they end up soiling their kennel and they go, this is gross, I don't want to do that. And the next night they tend to hold it for longer.
Sure.
And then usually within a week, like we get it done here, and the puppies will be sleeping through the night, no problem.
Got it.
Okay. But we'll provide you with all the information too. So when you pick them up, you'll have a schedule, and then what we recommend, you know, positive reinforcement. Obviously, we need potties or pees and poops outside. If you want to use a verbal cue, which I encourage, like go potty or whatever, it's helpful in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Especially if
Sure.
a dog. I've learned that when clients get their puppies in the winter, the puppies as adults tend to be much more tolerant of the winter.
Sure.
And then when they get them in the summer, and then they are adults by the wintertime, it's harder. and they
Yeah.
tend not
Makes
to do
sense,
so
yeah.
well. Yeah. So here we're starting to see some frustration. Why do you think that is?
I think he's bored.
What else?
I think he wants to be with him.
Yeah.
Like a crawl, he wants to be like held by him. I don't know. That's all I got.
And I'd say, yeah, he just doesn't understand what his job is.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What else?
I
What am
think-
I doing that you weren't doing?
I had him on a loose leash and let him kind of roam. You have him basically on the collar, or
Yeah.
you know, and you're structuring him and telling him
Already.
what to do.
Yes. So this isn't sit, stay, place, whatever. This is just simple behavior stuff. Okay. And this also allows me to evaluate a puppy. Okay. So normal for a puppy to get frustrated. Okay. But what can happen is if they're a more assertive personality type, you'll start to see him become a lot more agitated. Okay. Now he's already corrected me twice. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
Right. Where he went like this.
Yeah.
Very subtle. 0.5 on the Richter scale.
Sure.
Right. So I'm also evaluating that. So if I had this dog for an hour, and those are the first 2 corrections and the last 2 corrections, and then eventually he just caves in and gives me what I want, which is just relax, then I go, we're good. But you'll see with some puppies, they just get louder and louder and louder. And then the owner goes, oh, you're making the puppy mad. I go, no, I'm telling the puppy what to do. And yes, the puppy is getting upset.
Sure.
But this shows you a future dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It's gonna stay a problem.
Exactly. So then I go, I'm already doing this now. So like when I get Rottweiler clients or I get, you know, German Shepherd, all these power breeds, I'll tell the owners, you want to start this stuff now.
Got it.
Yeah.
For 2 months. The dog doesn't understand physically that I'm bigger than them. So they mature with this idea of like, you always told me what to do and made me do it. So by the time it's a 140-pound Rottweiler,
Yeah.
they're still completely submissive because since they were 2 months, it's always been like this.
Right, okay.
Whereas I had a client, got a Rottie, didn't do any training, didn't do nothing, started developing aggression issues towards the other dogs in the house and then also humans. And I came in at 2 years old, you know, and I told the owner, I'm like, there's a very high probability that when we try to address this issue, you're going to get a bit bad.
Oh,
And then she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you let this dog grow up.
I run all over you.
And yeah, exactly. And now, and we already know the dog's willing to aggress because it's already attacked the other dogs and attacked the person.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, the moment you put pressure on the dog, prong collar, remote collar,
You're gonna
whatever,
get it.
You're gonna get it.
Got it.
And I never heard back from her because I was like, I'm not gonna bullshit you. I'm not just telling
Right.
the truth because my job is to make sure you're safe. But you need to be aware that
You have a
going
problem.
into this is the risk, right? So you can see here, right, how he's already starting to chill and stuff. And this is the stuff that I'm looking for.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Right, because so like there's temperament tests where like they'll flip the puppy on its back, like cradle it and stuff, and you'll see like the puppy will start being very resistant. In other cases, the puppy's taken no problem, right? I was actually, it came up on my feed. I don't really watch dog trainers, but they'll pop up like as sponsored ads.
Sure.
And then the guy coincidentally was holding a Malinois, and he's like, yeah, a lot of people do, you know, they do a temperament test with like that's what I just mentioned to you. He's like, yeah, you can. He's like, but I like to tell them what to do. He's like, because when you start telling them what to do, they'll start to fight back. And when you see them fighting back, you go, okay, is this really going to be a family dog?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, that makes. I was like, finally, someone's saying something that I agree with.
Sure.
You know?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but here, like you can see the alertness, right? Holding still, getting up, that's fine. This is all normal. But typically, when people get puppies, it's a lot of just mi casa, su casa. right? And for me, it's like, nope, it's rules and boundaries, even stricter than most, okay? Like, let's say Darla's on the couch, and this guy wants to jump on the couch. I personally would not allow that.
Yeah, no, we would. We
Right.
don't let him on the couch anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, because there's going to be, there's a hierarchy there.
Yeah.
And so what happens is sometimes people give the puppy or the new dog in the home all the same rights as the residing dog.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many times like I get dog fights over that. And
Oh, sure.
I was like, that dog's on, what, you've only been here for 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're
yeah,
just
well,
like, going in the fridge and grabbing a beer and like,
Making yourself a pizza.
you gotta earn your place here.
Sure.
So in time, Michael would get the same kind of privileges as Darla.
Sure.
Got it.
So like for example, if she slept in the bed overnight, like I don't have a problem with that, but he wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? Like he'd have to earn that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like let's say in the future you feel like he's earned it. It's been 2 years, everything's going great, but then you try it out and like Darla's not having it because she's like no. Like that dog doesn't belong in the bed. Now
Right.
you have a decision to make.
Right.
So does that all make sense?
Yes.
Question on any of that stuff so far?
No.
No, it's pretty clear. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of, with the puppy training, it's clicker training. Typically it's gentle leader. In this case, we'll do prong. And then because we're doing prong, we could most likely already start doing duration work with him.
Okay.
Okay. So a gentle leader is a great tool, but it's very limited because we can't really formally correct to deter things. With a prong collar, we can. Okay. Usually that's not until week 2. So it's not like I can put a prong collar on a puppy and immediately start correcting them for things. I do have to make sure they condition to the pressure correctly.
Sure.
So by the 2nd week, I go, okay, now that we can start correcting you, we can expect you to sit still in the dog bed for 30 minutes to an hour, whatever it is.
Sure.
Okay. Of course, reinforcing during that time. Sometimes if the dog is too under stress, they won't take the food. So that just remains to be seen. With puppies, I'll try to raise the value of the treat. So I suggest when you send them, if you want, you can send some treats with him,
Sure.
just so we can use them, see what he does. I always start with the kibble first, because if I can get a puppy to just respond to the kibble, it just makes life a lot easier.
Totally.
Yeah, he does really well. We've just been training him with kibble 99% of the time.
Yeah, he's great with it. Yeah.
I try to, at some point, it's kind of inevitable with food that you're going to end up increasing the value, but by making the puppy work for its food, it really kind of just delays that, okay? And you can feed throughout the day.
Sure.
You'll get one of these. It's a short little kind of pamphlet, the Learn to Earn program. Have you heard of that?
I don't think so.
It's essentially like you take the dog's meal for the day and you put it in your pouch. And then, every time you take them for a walk, every time you let them out the kennel, every time you put them in the kennel, or, just every time you interact with them throughout the day, you have an opportunity to train and condition, right? So you have your treat pouch there. So like, let's say you go to put his prong collar on. He sits, you put the collar on, treat, yes, right?
Okay.
You go to the front door, he automatically sits, you open the door, he stays sitting, yes, right? It's every little thing, but you're using his kibble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The only issue with the Learn to Earn program is because since we're also trying to potty train and the food is being given at different times throughout the day, the potty training can go a little wonky. Okay, so we're trying to keep an eye on being able to condition the stuff with the program normally. But at the same time, not trying to work against ourselves, because if I feed breakfast, lunch, dinner like clockwork, he becomes like clockwork.
Sure.
So I know what to expect for the poops and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're doing meals, 6th at random times throughout the day, now his poop schedule might be a little bit off.
All over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we typically just keep an eye on things, and that's with the crate as well. It helps balance things out, so we can still train. We might throw up the poop schedule a little bit, but with the crate in the in-between, it still allows us to work on that.
Sure.
Okay?
Got it.
Let me think here.
I guess we've kind of been doing that in a sense with him. The Learn to Earn, just maybe not knowing the title
Praise
of
for
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I don't know if it's a question, but more of just a statement. I think the other thing that we noticed with him, he took pretty well to the leash and walks decently well with no distraction and is able to kind of sit, heel, follow you, come, is excited by food and all that sort of thing. What I've kind of started to judge is, so we live off Belmont, and if I remove myself 6 sidewalk blocks from Belmont, he's good. When I start to get to 5, It's looking at the cars, getting really distracted. Can still 50% of the time like have the interaction and do the training well, or the commands rather. The fourth block is no hold bars, everything's gone.
Chaotic.
The car noise and like the sensitivity of it, I guess, is like very high threshold for him.
Okay. And so does he look scattery? Does he look like he's just super distracted?
He tries to chase the cars, ears up, just left, right,
Yeah.
you know, kind of just manic.
He'll like pull back to like stop and go see something, you know, like he like won't walk forward until he sees it, like things like that. So he's not great on leash.
Yeah.
He's not horrible. He'll pull sometimes too. Like he's not great on leash.
Yeah, that's all to be expected.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's again we're concerned about behavior always. It's easier to prevent behaviors than it is to try to fix later. And then the foundation stuff, and I would expect with the prong collar it'll be better, but if you take them closer to, like you said, Belmont, it's either prey drive with the chasing or his stress levels are really high because of the
All sounds.
motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually just more exposure.
Yeah.
Walking is a great way to expose a dog. And then so what I used to do before when I had puppies do that is I would go against oncoming traffic.
Okay.
So I would walk towards it with the puppy on the inside or whatever facing the traffic. And in the beginning you'd see them freaking out, but the brain can only stay like that for so long.
Sure.
And eventually the brain caves and is tired and then stops the manicness. And then and by the last 10 to 15 minutes, they'd be walking calmly. And then I would repeat it. And typically by like the third to fifth day, you would just see it just come down because they're used to this.
The condition of the
oncoming.
sounds. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we don't see a change, then we flag it. With everything that we see with puppies, I always tell people flag it, keep an eye on it, and if it feels like it's static or increasing, that's when we have a problem.
Sure.
Okay, but as long as you see a decrease, we should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things I've done, and I don't know if this is right or not, but I just felt intuitive enough maybe, when he kind of gets a bit scatterbrained like that, I'll pick him up and just sit with him, or not sit with him, stand up with him in my arms on the corner, and he can just kind of listen to what's going on. I don't know, just to desensitize him, I guess.
It's different because when you pick a dog up off the ground, since they're not meant to be elevated, a lot of times it, I don't want to say confuses them, but they're just kind of like, what's going on?
Got
Yeah.
it.
So like if you pick up a puppy and you put them in the kennel, they don't know how they got there.
Oh.
Yeah. That's why sometimes like when people are like, oh, the puppy was resisting the kennel, so I just picked them up and put them in, and then they're like throwing a shit show. Like, right. Because one, the puppy was in resistance. They already told you, I don't want to go in there. You pick them up, you put them in, so they go like, how did I get in here?
Yeah.
And then you close the door, and then they freak out.
Got it.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So we always want puppies doing
Good to
things
know.
on their own, feet on the ground. So like dogs that jumping in the pool, for example, dogs will get scared of that.
Yeah.
So if you just pick them up and throw them in, they don't know how they got in there. They tend to panic. So if we put a slip leash on them and we're pulling them into the water, you'll see the brakes, but eventually they're going to hit the edge, and eventually they're going to have to jump. But they make the conscious decision to jump.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then you'll see them try to scramble out, but then you can keep them in because they chose to do it, and typically instinct will kick in, and then they'll just start swimming. Okay. Same thing like getting into cars. A lot of people go like, because they're trying to be nice, which I understand, but really they're just teaching the dog when you put the brakes on or whatever. I'll either do the work for you, or if they pick the dog up and they put the dog in the car, now the anxiety levels are even higher because the dog doesn't know how to get in the car.
Sure.
You know, so whenever it comes to dogs and puppies, we always make them make the decision to do the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, like right now, I'm making him make the decision to just chill out and relax.
Yep.
Right. So earlier he laid down, then he sat back up. About 15 to 20 more times, he started to get agitated again. Now he's resting. Right, he'll probably get up in a minute or two, and I'm gonna repeat the process. And the more and more I do that, he's like, whenever I'm with Jesse, he's not gonna let me get away with it.
Yep.
But that's what he's learning.
Yeah.
Right. So all these things. So earlier, just to note, when you had him, and this is very standard, most people just hold the leash loosely. Right. Now my leash is loose. I'm just not allowing him to do whatever he wants.
Sure.
Okay. So he came over to you. He jumped up. Do you remember what you did?
Pet him.
You pet him.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, do you remember when he did the same thing to you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you pet him, right? So, what do you think that tells Michael here?
What he's doing is okay.
Yeah,
What he's doing is okay.
jump
What
then
else?
reward.
Because the reward being the pet, you know,
Yes.
so he's getting rewarded for jumping up on us.
Yep. And he also told you what to do.
Right.
Pet
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Pet me, right? Give me attention. And you did it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have leader-subordinate relationship. Have you noticed I've not touched them in terms of petting?
Yeah.
I've just been telling them what to do.
Yep.
Yes. So, and this is, lots of people do what you do, right? I don't care, but when I see power breeds, I care.
Sure.
Because I'm like, we're trying to prevent things from the future or
Yeah.
from happening in the future, right? But I recommend it for all puppies. I don't care if he's a golden retriever. I don't care if he's a Chihuahua, right? I don't care if he's Malinois or Rottie. I treat all dogs the same from puppyhood to adulthood,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not that he's here trying to take over the world, right? And to be dominant.
Right.
He's just going, oh, I came and I told you pet me and you did it, so that must make me here.
Right.
And you're here.
Yeah.
So in the future, if I need to tell him to do something, he's like, wait a minute, man. He's like, since I was a puppy, I've been telling you what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you have this kind of indifferent relationship with the dog, which is difficult for a lot of people because usually we get dogs for companionship,
Yeah.
right? Friends don't tell friends what to do, is what I tell people. That's an authority relationship there. Parent to child, teacher to student, cop to civilian, right? That's an authority relationship. And typically people get dogs for companionship,
Sure.
which I completely understand. But that's usually where a lot of problems tend to stem from.
Sure.
Because somebody has to assert themselves in that relationship. So if the human isn't, the dog will. And then we get things like leash reactivity,
Yep.
territorial behavior, right? I get dogs that bully the owners and bite the owners, right? And I'll tell them, and they're like, Jesse, I don't get it. I get this dog the best food. I give him so much love and attention. I let him sleep in my bed and I do all this stuff for my dog. And then they bite me. I go, yes, because you're serving your dog.
Yeah.
You're literally catering to your dog, and then you get mad when the dog goes, I don't want you right now.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
Wow,
You know,
yeah.
Like I'm petting my dog, and they'll want the pet, and then they go, boom. I go, that's the dog telling you no more.
Yeah.
You know, and then people tend to take it personally, and I go, don't. Like that's just how animals are.
Sure.
So I always tell people, you can have obviously companionship. You just want to have 80% authority to 20% companionship. Whereas
Sure.
most people are like 99% companionship to that 1% of authority.
Right.
Right? So even right now, I can establish myself as authority by not even telling him anything verbally. I'm just making him do what I want, which is to sit. And I'm letting him whine about it. He even barked at you guys like, hey, help me.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, well, mom and dad aren't helping me right now. Right? He's trying to correct me right here. And I just take him and I reposition them, right? Whereas most people go, no, and then the puppy does this, and then they'll snap at them, they're like, oh, the puppy's aggressive to me now, and I go, no, that's the puppy already telling you to not tell them what to do.
Yeah.
It happens super young. As young as 3 to 4 weeks, puppies start to establish a hierarchy within the litter. Okay, so then we get them at 8 weeks, and then we get them at 8 weeks, and we give them this complete reign and freedom. And then they learn, I get what I want, and if I growl and snap at you, whatever, you'll back off. So now I have this ability. So whenever I don't want to do something, I'm going to give this.
I want to do that.
Yeah, and they get
Because it worked last
conditioned.
time. Yeah.
Does that
Got
make
it.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Question on, and then here, like you can see, he's going under stress. We got a stress yawn. But if you look at his demeanor here, right, the lip lick, stress signal, he's completely fine. He's alert state. Right, he's a little bit like this, right? Because he wants to do something I'm not allowing him to. But otherwise, he's not like doing this or getting anxious or whatever.
He's more annoyed.
He's just being pushed. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like structurally at home, let's say I'm just doing computer work or something, I'd have him do, or I do this to him at the desk as like a drill, is like a.
I would only do this like when you can concentrate.
Got it.
And obviously after the training, because you're going to have a I don't have a training tool right now. I just have my hands. I'm not doing any corrections. Like with the prong collar, you can do a biting correction with a pop of the collar or whatever. If you have the remote collar, you press the button to cause that contraction to like nip him essentially, right?
Yep.
We don't really have that right now. So right now, I'm really just being patient and tolerant. So when he put his mouth on me, if I was another dog and the dog, like Darla, wasn't going to tolerate that, what would she do?
Do the same thing.
Yeah,
back.
she
Bite him
would
back.
snap at him, bite him.
Bite
Yeah.
him right back. And then he has a decision. He goes, okay, you try to tell me what to do. I nipped at you in protest. You nailed me pretty good.
Yeah.
Do I want to continue this fight? So then he either submits or he will pursue. And that's what we call a dominant scuffle. Okay, a dominant scuffle is one being wants one thing and another being wants another. And then they fight over it. Right? So if he's like, hey, Darla, I want to pester you because I'm a puppy. And Darla's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And if she firmly corrected him, he has a decision. Do I want to reciprocate this and try to get my way? Or am I going to just tolerate and take and accept that harsh correction and give you space? That's how hierarchy is determined.
Sure.
That's how they learn their places and what's allowed and what's not allowed. So here, I'm just, what I mean by patient and tolerant is when he goes to nip me, I'm not doing anything about it.
Right.
I'm just ignoring him, right? And I just reposition with what I'm wanting here. But once he's far enough along, I'm like, all right, buddy, I'm telling you what to do, and you're trying to correct me for telling you what to do. I'm going to correct you for correcting me. And now we have our own personal dominant scuffle.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All this stuff is normal. With puppies, almost always you see it. It's just when people see it, they tend to take it as aggression, and they go, no, that's the puppy correcting you for telling them what to do. It
Right.
happens super young.
Got
But
it.
people see these guys as infants, and they go, they're not infants.
Yeah.
You know, an infant, for example, like my aunt, she had twins, and she was carrying one of them. Baby was probably like 3-4 months old, no mechanics, ripped an earring out of her ear.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Got really mad.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about it. Baby did not know.
Right.
It's on the adult. I should have taken off my earrings when I picked up my infant.
Sure.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Dogs as young as 3 to 4 weeks, again, start establishing this. Like you'll see them resource guarding food and stuff.
Yeah.
So at 3 to 4 weeks, they're correcting and biting each other.
Right.
Right? So here, I'm just being tolerant and ignoring them because I'm going, even if I try to correct you, I don't have, I can do Cesar Milan stuff. But I was like, but if I'm going to put a prong collar in you in a couple of weeks, I'll just do a prong collar.
Sure.
You know, but when people see that and they correct the puppy and the puppy goes to correct them and they go, uh-oh, am I going to make my puppy worse? I go, no, it's a conversation. Now, if you're yelling, so it's funny because a lot of clients will note, like when they yell at their puppy, the puppy will growl and show their teeth at them. I go, yeah, they don't like the energy. I don't yell at dogs. I don't scream at them. I don't get take it personally. I don't bring out emotion because emotion in the animal world is weakness. It's instability, right? That's why people say things they don't mean when they're angry. That's why people do things they wouldn't normally do when they're super sad,
Yeah.
right?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
It's instability. You don't think clearly. So for animals, they notice that. They can see that, right, behaviorally. So whenever we correct a dog, I always tell clients it's best to give a firm correction at the very start when you're emotionless,
Right.
right? When you're not frustrated. Typically, people give a lot of patience or they ignore, hoping the dog makes the right decision, right? So they don't have to correct the dog. And by the time they're correcting the dog, now they're yelling.
Right.
And I'm like, no. From the get-go, you put too much weight on the dog, and the dog didn't give you what you wanted. Now you're frustrated. Now you're taking it personally, and now it's coming through the correction, and that's what creates issues. You know,
Yeah.
like if I have to max out a collar to correct the dog, it's completely neutral. The collar does everything for me,
Sure.
right? And the dog takes it, and they go, okay, you're willing to correct me that harshly, and then they go on with their life.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
Yeah.
tend to get no, you know,
They're like,
For sure.
yeah.
okay, asshole.
Yeah.
And dogs, so like we had a case when I did my internship in Florida. It was a German Shepherd. The wife could not groom him. He would growl at her and snap at her. The husband could groom him.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, he still won't let me groom him. So we're like, well, show us what you're doing. And she's like, I'm maxing out the collar. I'm continuous seeing this guy just does not stop the defensiveness towards me.
Yeah.
So we go, show us what you're doing. He collars the dog, max out the collar, right? Grabs the brush, and the moment she grabs the brush, the dog starts growling, right? And she goes like this, right? But she hid.
Yeah.
She did it.
Oh.
And me and my mentor are like, you're scared.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, because he's going to bite me. I'm like, right, but it doesn't matter that you're maxing out the correction because the dog goes, you don't mean it because you're still scared of me.
Yeah.
It's like when in the movies, when you see someone holding a gun.
They're like, you're not gonna
and
shoot
you're like,
me.
you're not going to shoot.
Yeah.
And they'll take the gun from them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Oh
Oh.
wow. Yeah.
You know, it's just people don't see it that way.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's why, in the beginning, I mean, I had to do it myself when I was learning how to work with aggression. Fake it till you make it. despite that dogs can kind of see through that. But eventually you get the confidence and you're able to just like stand up to it, and then they will actually back off of you. You know, there's been times where I've had to, you guys familiar with Cesar Milan, the dog whisperer? He was my first teacher in the sense that I watched and rewatched his DVDs, went to Humane Society practice. That's a bulk of what I do is what he does.
Yeah.
I just learned and adapted it to remote collar. Okay, because it's easier for the average dog owner to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's been times where I've had dogs, you know, charge me aggressively. We don't have anything on the dog, and I'm just using energy and body language. And inside, I'm like, please, so fucking bite me, you know. But my energy is like this, and the dog's just there, and like, okay, I take you seriously, and they'll just back off.
Yeah.
But that's a skill now,
Sure.
you know. Whereas most people, especially the average dog owner, like they're usually
A little scared, yeah.
they're shaking, they're emotional,
I
stuff
would
like that.
imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to work them through all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot deeper, and the only reason why I bring up this stuff is just because you have a mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he does have strong male instinct in him, that's where in the future you have long-term work where he's going to need a job. Okay, and that goes out of my expertise. I have people I can refer you to or whatever.
Sure.
But a lot of times they need an outlet. Usually what I recommend for people is like harnesses or backpacks to put weight on them when you walk them, because it helps give them a job in the future. So it's like
interesting.
it's little things that we start off with first, and if the dog still seems like limitless,
Yeah.
then it's like then you need a greater outlet. You know, treadmill obviously for an hour is great, especially during the winter times. Backpacks are great. Harnesses are fine if you're gonna make the dog pull something like a heavy tire or whatever. Just harnesses aren't used for walking.
Got
I
it.
tell people. Okay, so that's the biggest thing, is just potentially in the future, the work that you may have depending on how he turns out personality-wise.
Got it.
Because you're going to get 2 shifts, 6 months in a year, technically 3, 6 months a year, 2 years. 6 months we refer to as Terrible Two's brain, teenager body. 1 year is teenager brain, adult body. 2 years is adult dog. Okay.
Got it.
So like I had a client, they got a German Shepherd puppy. It was a beautiful puppy, super quiet. And they're like, oh, Jesse, it's a perfect puppy, never barks anything, right? Super sweet. I'm like, not yet.
Oh, no.
Not yet. 6 months, they called me up for more advanced training because they're like, Jesse, you're right. This dog is barking at every.
He won't shut up.
I
Damn.
was like, yeah, it's a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Okay. Mouths tend to just be very mouthy.
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure you're meeting that need to chew and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I would suggest when you have 2 dogs, if you're going to give them something, probably just putting them in their kennels or placing them once they're more advanced.
Sure.
When they have their things, just to avoid any kind of resource guarding.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, type stuff. Can dogs coexist and share things? Yes. But typically humans get too complacent and they think, oh, everything's been great for the first 2 years. And then one day there's a fight.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, then it's really hard to recover from it.
Yeah.
Because now they have what we call unresolved tension.
Oh.
Right? Because technically speaking, if 2 dogs are fighting over something, most people don't know how to stop the fight correctly. And they just pull the dogs apart.
Yeah.
So the last thing the dogs remember is we were trying to kill each other. And the next time they try to bring them back, a lot of the times they just go back to wanting to kill each other.
Sure.
Or the moment the trigger is around, it's immediate.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what we call unresolved. Because technically, they'll fight to the death.
Sure.
Like I've walked into homes where one dog killed another dog.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Or
sure.
Stuff like that.
That's
Yeah.
awful.
I always tell people best to just separate, or just always be very mindful or watchful. Again, easier to prevent things because once that first fight or scuffle happens, that's when it's like literally like prison life.
Yeah.
Like I have a client right now. They have 3 dogs. One's like some kind of a lab mix, and then the other one is a breed I've never seen this. It's like a long-haired show dog, whatever. And they've had like 5 fights before they started training. And they started training, and it's been I think 3 or 4 months now, and they've only had 1 since. But what was happening is the first one started, then 3 months later another one happened, and then a month and a half another one, and then
Yeah.
within a week another one. Like it started ramping.
Shorter,
up.
yeah.
And I'm like, because it's unresolved.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, literally, it's going to be when these dogs are out, they're always told what to do. You're in place, you're in down, whatever. Because people tend to want to go back to what life was like before.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'll tell them it's not like that.
Yeah.
You know, like even with humans, like once you have a catalyst for something that's like very traumatic, like there's really no going back to
Come
that.
back, yeah.
Okay. Question on any of that?
No, I just, yeah, I know we have our work cut out. Like, you know, growing up, we had like puppies, you know, my family, we would have rescue dogs. So like, I've just never seen a puppy stare so intently at things, and like he's always looking around, he's always observing everything, and like not even like a puppy like, oh, what's that, and look away. Like he'll just stare at something and like he's trying to figure it out, and he's like, I'm like, we have our work cut out for us, because like the older he gets, I feel like the more observant, and like he's gonna get bigger, you know, and like I think this is, you know what I mean, and then it's like it's gonna be, now I can just pick his ass up, like shut up, like, you know, like, but when he's, you know, 80, 90 pounds, like, all right, now I need to be in control of it. You know, I feel like, because as me as like a woman, like a female energy to like even a male dog energy, I feel like I need to be a little bit more dominant too, and not be like so like, oh, he's a puppy, like he's fine, you know. So
I always tell people, treat your puppies like the dog you want.
yeah,
You know,
for
like,
sure.
Because yes, he's cute. He's got those fucking ears on him.
Yeah.
Right. I said that to you over the phone. Like I saw the picture, I'm like, those fucking ears.
Ears.
Yep.
So I mean, I see it too, but I'm a trained dog trainer, so I already know, like, all right, I'm gonna be indifferent to you. I'm gonna tell you what to do all the time.
Motion
whatever.
aside, yeah.
Motion is aside, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because also, especially because he's a power breed too. Because I go, okay, like, I don't want any problems here.
Sure.
So I'm gonna establish this now.
Yeah.
You know? So, other questions.
Well, I have a question in terms of training. So if we bring him Sunday to kind of do his first boarding, and then the training starts Monday, what do you provide versus what we should bring as far as like prong collar? Of course, we'll bring the food and all those kind of regular.
Is that your prong collar?
Yeah.
Is it okay? So I don't recommend these.
Okay.
Because this here, the bite is not the same.
Got it.
Okay, we use just a regular. This is a Herm Springer, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good quality. But this is, I can try them out with it. I guess for introductory pressure, it's nice.
Okay.
But it just doesn't have the same bite as a standard, simple
Prong.
Herm
Sure,
Springer
sure.
prong
Okay.
collar does. His tiny little neck. But we can see how he does with it.
Okay.
I might experiment. Because me personally, like, let's say I tried him on that.
Yeah.
And he's like, whatever, dude. And I'm like, all right, I need more pressure. And I put him on a standard prong collar and he starts flipping out. I'm going to go like, that's what I want. 'Cause
Right.
I want to work through all the BS.
Sure, okay.
Got it.
But I'll try him out with that.
Okay.
But for larger dogs, we don't definitely recommend those.
Sure,
Because
okay.
the teeth are so small.
Sure.
Got it.
Okay.
But for him as introductory, as long as they're both, he's taking to both the same, I would say not a problem.
Okay.
I'll experiment and I'll let you guys know.
Should we purchase one just in case and bring it with him for his first
We
day?
have
or?
him here.
Okay.
So in case we
Got
end up
it.
needing it, I'll let you know.
Got it.
If he ends up spazzing out with that, then I go, okay, cool, like we had enough. But I'm gonna tell you now, he's most likely gonna outgrow that for sure.
Okay.
Got it.
Where did you get that from?
I think I bought it on Ray Allen or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it was like Amazon or whatever. You probably just return it.
Got it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what Ray Allen's policy is.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to try it out.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Got it.
definitely for like adult dogs, we don't recommend them.
Sure.
Sure.
Any kind of, for the most part, as FYI, any kind of altered collar. So if it's a Herm Springer, I typically don't recommend. I don't recommend alligator clips, which I believe, no, that's not alligator. I think it's a carabiner clip.
It's a carabiner, yeah.
Carabiner clips, that's fine. Alligator clips, we don't. When they have, instead of the chain, they'll have like nylon,
Sure.
kind of black strap.
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever. Don't recommend those.
Got it.
Just a very simple, normal Herm Springer prong collar is the best. All the altered ones, the altered parts tend to take from the prong itself.
Yeah.
Like the smoothness of pulling the chain and it just creating that biting. When actually trying to do a firm correction, the strap ones tend to, because of friction or something, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
not the same.
Okay.
When you've used all these things on hundreds and thousands of dogs, it's like, yeah, just a plain, simple, original
Sure.
Herm Springer
Back to the
collar
basics. This is yeah.
always the best.
Yeah.
I'm a very simple trainer.
Yeah.
We carry them, so like I have clients that have arthritis and they need like the snap buckle for the prong collar because
Oh.
they can't undo the prongs.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell them, just so you know, I don't recommend these because of this, but I understand
Your
you have
situation,
this
yeah.
situation, you know. But I
Got
don't,
it.
because people will have to complain like, oh, this collar doesn't work as well. I go, yes, it's because they'll put like the rubber tips on them or whatever, you know.
Yeah, okay, I've
and
seen
that's
that.
usually the cheaper types because the metal is a flat cut as opposed to a prong collar, it's a rounded cut. Because with the flat cut, there will be sharp edges, so the rubber tips are to protect the dog's neck from those sharp edges.
Yeah.
But then the rubber tips take from what the prong collar is intended.
Supposed to do. Yeah.
So, okay.
Got it.
In the future, once he's ready for remote collar, just Black Edition, just so you're aware of that.
Yeah, same one we have for Darla.
Darla?
Yeah, okay.
Now, just so you know, there are remotes that can pair to 2 different collars. Okay, so Black Edition currently does not have a 2-dog version. There are 1-dog versions. Okay, but you can buy a remote that will pair to Black Edition collars to have a 2-dog remote system. Okay, the issue is if you take Darla's collar and you pair it to this one remote, it will unpair it from the original remote.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Now you can have two dog systems paired to 2 dogs at the same time. So both of you will always have control over both dogs.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
A lot of my couples will either do that, but they're doing it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like I have a client, we did a board and train for the first dog, and now they're bringing their second dog. And I told them, think about this now, because it'll save you a lot of money in the future. If you're going to remote collar train your other dog, just buy a 2-dog system now.
Get it over with, yeah.
Because it also I have to send it to dog truck because they have to do it themselves. I can't do it in-house.
Mm.
Any other pairing I can do in-house. Dog truck has to do that. I was like, you're going to be without a system for a while. So while you're doing the board and train, I'll send that out for you, get it paired up. So by the time the board and train's done, you'll have your system. And then when you're ready for your other dog, you're good to go.
Easy to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in your case, if you decide to go that route in the future, it would just be individual Black Edition collar and then the 2-dog remote. And then when you each want control, you would just unpair one collar, pair it to the other remote. So then it unpairs from the 2-dog system. And then when one owner needs control over both dogs, you would just pair it back to the other one. So it'll be a little tedious because you're pairing and unpairing.
Sure.
But it saves you having to buy like a whole, family system.
Sure.
Or if you just did another Black Edition system, you'll just always have 2 remotes and 1 dog to each remote.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
The other one just allows you the option to be able to put 2 on 1.
Sure.
Got it.
Other questions?
Something you were saying earlier about like if he comes up to get pet, like he's like demanding to be pet, like is that something we should be like correct now? Because he does it a lot when we're home when he's like not in his kennel or his crate, like when he comes up and like puts his head on us, like just ignore it.
Ignore him, see what happens. In the beginning, let's say he does it and then he just like a minute later picks up his head and walks away. Good. The next time he does it, 30 seconds he walks away, and then 15 seconds. Again, it should always decline. If you start seeing demand barking, frustration barking, jumping on you, like him when I'm trying to keep him still, like you can see these kind of fluctuations when his frustration levels go up, but then he comes back down again. Like that's what I'm watching for as well. And then when it comes to giving him affection, I make the dog work for it.
Oh, okay.
So like let's say you take him for a walk. You come to a crosswalk, he sits, good, right? Then I can pet him because he did something I wanted. He worked for it. Does that make sense?
So affection is more of a reward. Sorry, let me cut you off.
Reward, yeah.
More of a reward. Okay.
Because people tend to just give it because either the dog requested it or commanded it, and then also because the dog is cute.
Yeah.
So now I'm taking away from my value.
Right.
Right. So now if he's like, man, like, you guys really only pet me when I do stuff, right? It's like now we have another incentive for him to follow directions and all that.
Good to know.
So, and it's not to say that you can't ever like cuddle with them.
Yeah.
I just, for the most part, would always put it under your cue.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the couch and I want to spend time on my pet, I'm like, hey Lex, and I'll pat on the couch and she'll jump up and she curls in her little donut and she'll cuddle.
So when you call him to get affection.
Correct.
Okay.
As opposed to her just jumping up. Because the other issue is like, and this happened actually with me and Elizabeth, with Luna, I'm pretty sure, is Luna was in the beginning, she would just jump up and she would assume the interaction. And then one day Elizabeth had like hot soup or something and she like spilled it. And then it spilled on us, but it made a mess. And then she was all pissed off. And I'm like, well, the fact that you allow this whenever, every other time, like she's not going to distinguish like today's not a good day because there's hot soup.
There's soup, yeah.
Those are the other things that people don't think about.
Right.
So, anything else?
I mean, for now, yeah, that's all we got.
Yeah, I think that was great. Yeah.
Definitely got some Mal in him,
Yeah,
personality-wise,
totally.
right? Like the alertness that said the constant staring, that's Malinois.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's just how much Malinois.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, the mix that we have here, she is clearly a mix. I remember before we trained her, she was like chewing on her collar. She was doing all this. She was unable to settle. Now that she did a 2-week boarding train, now she goes on place and she actually relaxes. It's Gretchen, You probably saw on the treadmill, maybe, where she was like the paws. It was like a post like a day or two ago.
Okay.
Where she like had her side paws on the side of the treadmill,
Yeah.
and the back legs were walking.
Oh.
Yeah, she was just like looking.
That's funny.
Gretchen.
Got it.
So before we trained her, she was unable to settle, and then after we trained her, now she was like falling asleep on place and stuff.
Got
Oh,
it.
good.
Yeah, yeah. But she's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay. He looks more mild to me.
Yeah.
Gretchen does. Okay.
Yeah. We'll be interested to see.
So we'll see him tomorrow, right? Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then in terms of stuff to bring, you can bring your prong collar, bring food. If you'd like, you can bring some treats.
Yeah.
And then I'll always start with food, maybe use the treats. Otherwise, it really doesn't matter because when we're using pressure, we can always make the dog do it despite if they take the food or not.
Yeah.
And just go from there.
Cool.
Okay?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Awesome, guys. All right, buddy, you're free. If you need anything, let us know.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
I'm gonna take him.
I think you got your hands full.
I think we agree.
Yeah. Big time.